If you think you know everything about the glamour and scandals of Hollywood's golden age, well, get ready to have your mind blown. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on showbiz's very deeply guarded secrets. The stars who amazed the world while hiding their real identities. They weren't just actors playing fake roles on screen. They were also living their lives under a veil of secrecy. They risked everything to be themselves, in a world that demanded they be someone else. Maybe some of them you know, maybe some you don't. But I just hope this helps you to understand them better and realize how talented and amazing these golden age stars were. Let's begin with number 15, Barbett. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Barbett, a gender-bending 1920s aerialist from Round Rock. When Barbett stepped onto the stage in the 1920s and 30s, audiences weren't just watching a female impersonator. They were witnessing an artist who redefined gender on a tightrope. Born Vander Clyde Broadway in Texas, Barbett crafted a one-of-a-kind act fusing trapeze acrobatics and elegant transformation. He began by performing risky aerial routines entirely as a beautiful woman, dazzling crowds with poise and precision. At the finale, he'd remove his wig and reveal his true identity, turning the show into a live commentary on gender as performance. Intellectual and artistic elites across Europe were mesmerized by Barbett's brilliance. His work deeply influenced the surrealist movement and avant-garde circles of the interwar years. While most impersonators were boxed into vaudeville or cabarets, Barbett headlined major venues like the Casino de Paris and London Palladium. He performed gender theory before the term existed. When he died in 1973, the New York Times published his obituary. Yet today, no one knows him. Number 14, Jean Malin. For a brief but very brilliant moment, genderqueer pioneer Jean Malin conquered every famous nightclub from New York to Hollywood as self-proclaimed Queen of the Pansies. Born Jean Malin in Brooklyn in 1908, he became one of the earliest openly gay entertainers in American showbiz. What set Malin apart was his refusal to conform. He performed both in men's suits and women's gowns, creating a fluid stage presence before terms like gender fluid even existed. Instead of crossing gender lines, he blurred them entirely. By the late 1920s, Malin was a star in New York's speakeasy scene, especially in venues serving gay and lesbian patrons. In 1930, at the peak of his fame, he was hired by a top Los Angeles nightclub, The Palace, for $250 per week, which would be over $4,000 in today's terms. Though he appeared in films like Arizona to Broadway, 1933, studios limited his roles due to his identity. After a show in August 1933, Malin died in a freak accident when his car reversed off a pier. He was just 25, but rumors still linger. Number 13, Julian Eltinge. Long before RuPaul's Drag Race became a pop culture staple, Julian Eltinge was America's top female impersonator and among the highest paid entertainers of his era. Born William Julian Dalton in 1881, Eltinge transformed the stage with his uncanny ability to become an elegant, convincing woman. He wasn't just a niche act, he was a national celebrity in the 1910s. How famous was he? Well, let's say, famous enough to have a Broadway theater named after him in 1912, the Julian Eltinge Theater on 42nd Street, a symbol of his incredible reach and influence. Eltinge wasn't remarkable just for cross-dressing, but for his total dedication to illusion. Unlike many impersonators of the time who leaned into parody, Eltinge's performances were super accurate. He studied women's gestures, expressions, and movement like a scientist, crafting characters so believable that crowds were stunned when he removed his wig. Offstage, he overcompensated with a rugged public image. By the 1940s, public attitudes had shifted, and Eltinge was pushed to the sidelines. He died in 1941, and sadly, he is forgotten like Nefertiti. Number 12, Gladys Bentley. In the smoky speakeasies and jazz clubs of 1920s Harlem, few performers held the stage with as much confidence and rule-breaking energy as Gladys Bentley. Unlike most entries on this list, Bentley's path ran in reverse. She was assigned female at birth but rose to fame performing in men's clothing, challenging gender norms from a different angle. She emerged during the Harlem Renaissance, performing at legendary spots like the Clam House and the Ubangi Club. Her act was unapologetically bold. She wore a full white tuxedo, top hat, played piano, and sang blues lyrics that even Harlem's liberated crowds found shocking. Towering at over 6 feet and weighing around 250 pounds, Bentley had a commanding presence. Her gender presentation wasn't a costume, it was identity. She was openly lesbian at a time few dared to be, reportedly marrying a white woman in Atlantic City. By 1952, under intense pressure, she claimed in Ebony magazine to be cured. She died in 1960, her legacy still criminally under-recognized. Number 11, Jim Bailey. As television took over American entertainment in the 1960s and 70s, Jim Bailey became its most visible and celebrated female impersonator. But impersonator barely covers what he did. Bailey's performances were full-scale recreations of celebrities, so convincing they often fooled industry insiders. His most iconic act was with Judy Garland. He didn't just look like her, he sang exactly like her, to the point that even Garland's daughter, Liza Minnelli, became a fan and friend. His vocal mimicry was so precise that audio-only clips were often indistinguishable from the real thing. He didn't parody Garland, he captured her fragility and emotional depth. He also performed as Barbra Streisand and Peggy Lee. Bailey achieved what no one else had: prime-time exposure on major shows like The Tonight Show and The Ed Sullivan Show. He framed his work as character acting, not drag, allowing him to slip past the era's discomfort with gender nonconformity. His technical talent made it undeniable and unforgettable. Number 10. Bert Savoy. While Julian built his career on realism and poise, Bert took the opposite route and still became one of vaudeville's biggest names. Born Everett Mackenzie, Savoy created a flashy, exaggerated lady persona that thrilled people with bold comedy and iconic one-liners. His act was anything but subtle, complete with blazing red hair, theatrical makeup, and garish costumes. He didn't try to pass as a woman. Instead, he let the audience in on the performance. His trademark catchphrase, "You don't know the half of it, dearie," became so well known in the 1920s that it spread nationwide. Savoy's impact even reached Hollywood. Mae West, famous for her risque wit and campy charm, drew heavy inspiration from Savoy's style. Many believe she modeled her stage persona after his, essentially a woman copying a man copying a lady. In 1923, during a storm in Long Beach, New York, Savoy joked after lightning struck, then was fatally hit by another bolt moments later. His legacy faded as Hollywood tightened under moral restrictions. Number 9. Billy Tipton. Now here's the story you probably expected, one of the most astonishing examples of gender identity and performance in entertainment. Billy was a jazz musician who played piano and saxophone across America from the 1930s to the 70s. He married several ladies, adopted kids, and led a very normal life. But when he died in 1989 at 74, it was revealed that Billy had been assigned female at birth. No one, not his wives, his kids, or his bandmates, had known. Born Dorothy Lucille Tipton in Oklahoma in 1914, he began binding his chest and dressing as a man in the 1930s. Initially, it may have helped professionally, but it soon became clear this wasn't just a career move, it was his life. Tipton formed the Billy Tipton Trio and kept his identity guarded through careful storytelling. He claimed a chest injury explained the bandages and avoidance of medical exams. Tipton didn't perform gender. He lived it, fully and privately, until the very end. Number 8. Bourbon. One of the most controversial performers of the pre-code era, Ray shattered boundaries that even today's celebrities, except Diddy, would think twice before crossing. Born Hal Wadsworth, though some accounts dispute his birth name, Bourbon's acts walked a deadly tightrope during a time when ladies' impersonation faced growing legal scrutiny. He remained intentionally vague about his personal identity, which made him an easy target for authorities eager to clamp down on what they saw as moral corruption. What made him special was his boldness. His routines were daring. He recorded comedy albums with titles like Hilarious Songs for Gay Lads, filled with material that was shockingly ahead of its time. His content was so contentious that many record stores refused to stock it, forcing him to sell directly at performances. As social conservatism hardened in the 1930s and 40s, Bourbon found himself confined to underground clubs. He got arrested for murder in 1968 and died in prison in 1971, erased from Hollywood history forever. Number 7. Thomas Craig Jones. As Hollywood moved into the conservative 1950s, female impersonation had nearly vanished until T.C. Jones redefined it with style and theatrical craft. Born in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Jones built an act that elevated impersonation from vaudeville novelty to respected performance art. What made him stand out was his focus on celebrity mimicry. Rather than generic female portrayals, he recreated stars like Tallulah Bankhead, Bette Davis, and Katharine Hepburn with stunning accuracy, not just in appearance, but in mannerisms and voice. Jones's solo show, Mask and Gown, opened in Los Angeles in 1957 and reached Broadway the next year. Critics praised him not as a drag performer, but as a serious actor. He appeared on mainstream shows like The Ed Sullivan Show and What's My Line, even landing a role in Funny Girl, 1968. That he thrived in an era obsessed with rigid gender roles speaks volumes about his skill and strategy. Number 6. Craig Russell. As cultural attitudes shifted in the 1970s, Craig Russell emerged as a bridge between classic impersonation and modern drag. Born in Toronto, Russell was known for near-perfect impressions of Hollywood legends, with performances that blended visual precision and deep psychological insight. His portrayals of Judy Garland, Bette Davis, and Mae West weren't just visual. He absorbed their interviews, films, and gestures, building layered interpretations that felt more tribute than mimicry. Russell gained international attention with Outrageous, 1977, one of the first mainstream films to center a drag performer. Critics praised his performance, which brought his stage characters into dramatic storytelling. Unlike earlier performers who distanced their work from queer identity, Russell was relatively open about his sexuality. He'd switch between more than 24 impersonations in a single show, each complete with vocal tone, posture, and emotion. His work introduced vintage stars to younger audiences. He was a legend. Number 5. Karyl Norman. Karyl had captivated vaudeville audiences with a performance style that was truly ahead of its time. George Francis Peduzzi was born in Baltimore on June 13, 1897, and left home at the age of 16. He joined Neil O'Brien's Minstrels and began performing vaudeville on the U.S. West Coast. In 1917, he traveled to Australia as a theatrical performer. He took the name Karyl because it was sexless, and Norman after his father. What made Norman's act extraordinary was his voice. While most female impersonators lip-synced or relied on falsetto, Norman could sing fluently in both male and female vocal ranges, often switching registers mid-song. This rare skill gave him the nickname Creole Fashion Plate, a nod to his ornate costumes and the racial ambiguity he projected on stage. His rapid costume changes became legendary, sometimes pulling off 6 complete transformations in one show, each with distinct styling, gestures, and vocal tone. Though white, Norman's performances played with exoticized Creole identity, reflecting the complicated racial dynamics of early entertainment. Despite his big fame, he is forgotten. Number 4. Divine. No list of gender-bending performers is complete without Divine, the defiant, genre-destroying icon who redefined drag and shook the foundations of American pop culture. Born Harris Glenn Milstead in Baltimore, Divine created a character that wasn't trying to pass as female, but to explode the idea of gender entirely. His look was extreme, towering wigs, exaggerated makeup, a massive frame, and zero desire to be pretty. His long-running collaboration with filmmaker John Waters produced shocking, cult classic films like Pink Flamingos, Female Trouble, and Polyester. Divine's drag was deliberately grotesque, meant to disturb, not delight. It mocked beauty standards and exposed the performance of gender as theater. He later gained broader exposure through Hairspray, 1988, where he played Edna Turnblad, a role that softened his image without watering it down. He also had a successful music career, with hits like You Think You're a Man. Divine died suddenly in 1988, just as his work was reaching a new mainstream peak. Number 3. Danny LaRue. Crossing over to the UK, we find one of the most commercially successful female impersonators of the 20th century, Dani. Born Daniel Patrick Carroll in Ireland, LaRue became a household name in Britain, achieving a level of visibility and financial success that most American performers in this space never reached. His act was lavish, built on extravagant costumes designed by top fashion houses, often costing tens of thousands of pounds and requiring serious physical strength just to wear. Unlike many impersonators relegated to backroom clubs, LaRue owned a prestigious nightclub in London's West End, Danny's, which became a hotspot for celebrities and even members of the royal family. Princess Margaret was known to be a fan, offering a rare kind of elite endorsement. LaRue regularly appeared on British television, hosting holiday specials that brought drag performance into middle-class homes. By framing his work as comedy in costume, not gender expression, he earned mainstream acclaim very boldly. Number 2. Charles Pierce. Charles stands at the top of this list as perhaps the most skilled and artistically complex female impersonator of the 20th century. Born in Watertown, New York, Pierce fused the technical mastery of early performers with the emotional intelligence of modern drag. His celebrity impressions were more than mimicry. They were full-fledged character studies. He embodied stars like Bette Davis, Joan Crawford, Katharine Hepburn, and Tallulah Bankhead with uncanny voice work and insight into their personas. Unlike others who relied on heavy costuming, Pierce could transform using minimal props, perhaps just a scarf or cigarette holder, relying instead on vocal precision, posture, and expression. He performed live dialogue and sang in character, a rarity among his peers. Critics often compared him to serious character actors. Despite performing during an era of widespread discrimination, he headlined elite venues like the Plaza Hotel and Coconut Grove. Number 1. Frances Renault. Known as the slave of fashion, Frances turned female impersonation into a high-art tribute to couture and historical spectacle. Born Antonio Oriema in Naples around 1893, Renault's vaudeville act blended lavish costume design with deep historical accuracy. Unlike others who performed broad female caricatures, Renault recreated specific historical figures, Cleopatra, Queen Victoria, and Catherine the Great, down to the smallest detail. His gowns sometimes cost what would now be over $50,000. His dedication set him apart. He studied the women he portrayed, their poise, posture, and demeanor. He viewed impersonation not as a novelty, but as a refined artistic craft. Critics who might have dismissed the genre took his work seriously. His later acts even featured icons like the Duchess of Windsor. Through his performances, Renault essentially became a one-man fashion museum, bringing fashion history alive on stage. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.